Feel safe, feel secure. ATA Security.
Céad míle fáilte, 100,000 welcomes to Irish Paint Magic. Today we're going to commemorate the great Irish artist Paul Henry. I was always a great admirer of Paul Henry, and I remember the old railway stations long ago used to have his posters back in the times of the old steam trains and all that type of thing up on every station throughout the whole of Ireland. And he had a very peculiar type of trademark, if you like, where 2/3 of his skies were always, he took up 2/3 of the painting. So what I want you to do is come up with me today. I'm going to do one of his style of painting just to show how he painted the west of Ireland. So what I have here is a 24 by 18 canvas. And again, I would repeat myself that you at home need not necessarily have to have that size of canvas. You can paint on any size of canvas you wish. But what I done here, I drew a rough sketch with a pencil. And if you notice, like most, 2/3 of the paint of the canvas is going to be sky, and that was his style. Paul Henry always had that type of a style of painting. He loved the skies. He really fell in love with the skies. And down here, he went to the west of Ireland, and he painted all Ireland as he saw it back in the 1800s or early 1900s. And he put in the old Irish cottages, and I just put in here the shape of an old Irish cottage. But there was no contact paper when Paul Henry was around, so I brought a little bit of contact paper with me. And this is only contact paper, but I have it the same shape as the house here. And I only want to keep that dry, and there's no other reason for it. So I'm going to peel off this. Just going to peel it off. It'll come off. You can get this in the hardware store or anything for covering shelves and things like that. Now, I'm going to just put it here. Now, as I said, Paul Henry would never have had contact paper. So I just put that there, and the only reason is to keep the canvas dry. There's no other reason. So I'm going to paint straight away. I'm going to go in with a 2-inch brush, and I'm going to go right up here to the sky with a liquid white or magic white. I think he had a Belfast accent. He came from Belfast and came down to paint rural Ireland and arrived over in Achill Island. But eventually he got in with a couple as a lodger, and he was accepted after a while. Now, his skies were very simple, but he painted big bellows of clouds. And I often, if I have time to spare when I'm in Cork City, I go into the Crawford School of Art. And there's some paintings by Paul Henry in there. And I might often sit there for 10 minutes, quarter of an hour. You can sit right in front of the paintings. And I look at Paul's paintings. There's quite a lot of them still around Ireland. And of course, they're collector's pieces now. I couldn't afford one of them. Maybe the old director of programs here could afford it, but I certainly couldn't. So now I'm going to go straight away into a little bit of blue. I'm going to be careful now because this blue needs to be diluted, and I'm going to mix it with the brush. Bit of white, and maybe I'll mix the colours a little bit stronger than Paul did for the cameras. I don't think the cameras were there in his time. Just mixing them on the brush now here. And here I've got a little bit of crimson into that to warm it up. A little bit. And I'm going to come up here. That's better. So it's gone a little bit lavender now. I'm going, that's fine. It's okay. No problem. I'm just toning it down a bit. Now, in there. So there. And he would come down like that. And of course, he would have went outdoors and sketched around Ackle. He would have sketched and probably had a room or somewhere, because the weather there at times wouldn't have been great. And he would most likely, even though I don't know and I can't say whether or not, but I think he may have had a room that he was done some of his paintings when he came in after sketching outside. Now, that's going down into the liquid clear, or the liquid white. You can use liquid white or liquid clear actually, it doesn't really matter. Over this side, I'm going to put another piece. And I'm just putting this on at random, and here now you're starting to see the clouds going up into the sky, big bellows of clouds, and that was his style of painting. And I always loved it. Even when I was very, very young, I used to look at the posters on the old railway stations. Didn't make any whole lot of money, but he got a contract with the old CIE, and it's Einrod Airden now, but he got a contract with him. He made a few bob out of that. But like all artists, he was hungry. The poor man, he didn't make any bobs. Now, I'm going to go a little bit bolder here, just to warm that up to more lavender kind of a colour. That's going into the blue now. Now I'm going to make up a little bit of white with the knife and a bit of yellow ochre. Not a whole lot. White and yellow ochre. Yeah, that's grand. And I'm going to do the same. White again, and a bit of yellow ochre, and a little bit of black. And that will do as a shadow colour, really. You want to be careful with the yellow and the black, because you could have a green. We don't want green skies. Just warm that up with a small bit of crimson, and it will complement the because we put also crimson up there in the lavender colour. No. Now that'll do me fine. I don't want it to be too strong. That'll do. I just get a 1-inch brush here, and I'd put that, if the sun was coming down here, I'd put it at the left hand side of those bellows there. And here, creamy colour, and he would have put that there, and he would have put it on quite bold strokes. I don't know what type of brushes he used, but this is a 1-inch brush, but I would imagine he would have had a filbert brush or something like that, very large filbert brush, and he would have had these strokes quite bold, like the old director of programs, quite bold. And using black and crimson and a little bit of white. That's a bit better. That camera will pick that up. I don't want to lose the blue there either on the sky. So I'm just going to soften all that with a clean 2-inch brush now. Just clean 2-inch brush now. And now I'm going to soften the whole lot. Soften it all down. Very gentle. He would have talked to the canvas just like myself. He would say, "Mr. Cloud, please sit down." Now, I did go, and I'm in Achill Island quite often, actually. Quite often. I'm in Mayo quite a lot. And I could not find these clouds that much up there. I tried Connemara, no. But I did find them above in Donegal. Donegal is full of these big bellows of clouds. And anytime I go to Donegal, I spend most of my time looking up at all these lovely clouds up in Donegal. They do go up that way. Now, he would also have had a very, very strong blue. He was famous for the blue that he saw in the mountains. And sometimes you can see it's to do with the weather, actually. And this could be quite strong. And I suppose the weather was changing at such pace. I'm picking this up here now and looking. I'm actually putting black into that blue, which is very, very strong. But that was his style of painting. And that's what we're doing today. Not necessarily my style. It was Paul Henry's style. Now I'm going to try that colour. So I'm going in with a filbert brush into that. I can tone it down more with black if I need. So there would have been a mountain range. This is a special black. That's fine now, that's much better. It's not the standard type of black, you know, that we have, because there's already a formula in this, and it's excellent for Irish skies as well. So he would have had right along there and came on down, right along, big strong colours, and he would have went on over there. Now you can see the reason I'm painting around that old house now, and you can see the reason I put the contact paper on there to keep it clean. No other reason. So as I could paint around that in a minute when it's dry. Now that I'm talking about Achill Island and the Mayo people, I just like to take this opportunity to say hello to all my friends and everything in Mayo, especially down around Newport. All the Garrities of Derrigarov and Mary Jo and everybody, all her family, and to say hello to you all, and please God we'll meet again shortly. I love around Westport and Ballina and Newport, lovely town Newport, and all the people there, lovely artists. Now that's pushing all that sky back. So I'm just going to pick up a little bit of, maybe a bit of the greenery side as you come down in yellow ochre there, to introduce a little bit colour just there, like, just there. Not a whole lot, not a whole lot. And maybe that same colour could be introduced there, just at the back of that there, like. But not a whole lot, bold enough strokes. Now I'm going to continue with a bit of yellow ochre and a bit of green, bold enough here along here, look. Just along there. He did again seem to introduce, always seem to put a little bit of blue or a boggy colour. Always seem to introduce it on the ground level. So I'm just going to introduce a little bit of blue, boggy colour there, look. And sure, if you look at it, there's all these little bogs are all full of little lakes and things like that. And some of them are full of trout, but they're all stunted trout. They're stunted from millions of years, and they're overcrowded, and they don't grow very big at all. Now, what I'm going to do is try to get out of here is, I'm going to take off the contact paper now that I put on. Now, as I said, the only reason I put that on was to keep that clean. There's lots of great artists and artist schools down here in Achill. Lots of artist schools down there. Now, I'm just going to create a little bit on the roof here. Maybe a little bit of yellow ochre into the... The reason I'm putting this in now, it'll be in my own way, I'm going to paint the walls of this little old cottage. And if I don't do it now, it'll be in my own way in a minute. So I'll put it in now. But when they were painting those long ago, it was the this side of it. It was a lime wash they used to do them with. Lime wash. They get an old bucket of water and a few fistfuls of lime and throw it into it. And of course, it was very, very healthy as well. I'm going to get up there. There's the gable. And I can darken some of that now in a moment. And that would have went more or less over like that rather than straight down. But they throw a bit of lime wash into a bucket of water and paint a whole lot and to be lovely and white for a couple of weeks anyway. Now I'm going to darken that a little bit because it will be more or less in shadow there, like. And again, I'm going to leave it quite bold. Not going to. Over here, I get a little bit of Van Dyke brown, maybe a bit of sienna with it. Same old brush. Go over that there. And down. And again, I can't stress this enough, I'm painting on dry canvas now because I put a little bit of contact paper over that, and that makes, otherwise it would be very slippy altogether, and that maybe I would have had to wait a couple of weeks for it to dry, and I don't want that. Now, these are all rough and rough and rough and rough and ready kind of strokes. Don't want them to be too bright, and I don't want them to be too exact. But anyway, there's great art schools down there and great artists in Achill. So maybe when you're on your holidays, you could slip down there or let them know we're up here or whatever. And I do know that a lot of them there are watching the program. I do know that. So I just want to take the opportunity to thank all the people in the Achill Island area, and indeed all of Mayo, who are tuning in, to thank them for their kind remarks, etc. Now, I'm going to come on here. I'm going to get a liner brush because I need to get on with this now because the clock is running down on me. I'm going to get a liner brush here. And they're going to get a bit of black and blue there, mostly black. Thinning it out slightly. And I'm going to get my mahal stick. And I'm just going to put a little door there, like. Somebody has to come in and somebody has to come out. And at that time, the windows were very small. And if you look at the ruins of all these old Irish cottages and that, you notice the windows were exceptionally small. You're wondering, the name of God, why didn't they make the windows bigger? Well, the reason they did, there was taxes on this, the sides. Now, there was another little door over there. They had to pay taxes on them if there was too much. It was by the openings on the house, and they didn't. They had them very small, so they'd have to pay very little taxes. Now, that's fine. I'm going to go back now to my filbert brush. And here, right up again, which was famous. I used to love it years ago when I come along here on my holidays for the old stacks of turf up again the gable and things like that, look. They'd be all there. They'd save the turf. Now 'tis all sausage machines they have for doing the turf. Completely different. Completely different. I'm going to leave this quite dark now because that was his style of painting. That's mine. I'm kind of repeating myself now, but I don't want to do that too much. But I need to get out from the door. Out there. I'm going to get out that way. I need to get out there now because I'm getting in my own way, and I'm going to have another look at the clock, and I'm still okay. You see, I need to keep watching the clock because otherwise if I don't, I'll get probed in the ankles. And I'll be walking around lame, you see, when the time is running out. Now I'm going to highlight that colour there with a bit of yellow ochre. There. Just a little bit of yellow ochre. Don't kill all the darks now. And then a little bit of white into that yellow ochre will highlight where the sun would just get part of it. Not a whole lot. Not a whole lot. Be careful of the trap you'd fall into when things are looking nice. You put on too many lights and you'll have no dark. So watch that one. Watch that trap. Now here, there would have been growth. Bit of all greenery there. Right down. Right down that way. And all these strokes would have been very, very bold. More or less what I'm doing. But of course I wasn't. I would never hope to be as famous as Paul Henry. But I do, always did, and still do appreciate his work. And his art is in collector's pieces all over Ireland and all over the world. Over this side, just need to push that back a little bit. Push it back. Go back now, please. Thank you. Because this cockfella is running out of time now. And he wants to start talking to this canvas. Here we go. Long, bold strokes. Paul Henry was born in 1876. 1876. Were we lucky on this island to have such a talented person. And he lived until 1958. And what a loss. What a loss that gentleman was to the Irish nation. But that's life. We can't stop it. Again, I'm just going to get the Van Dyke Brown. The Van Dyke Brown here. And there would have been all stacks of turf all along, everywhere. This would have been boggy country. Still is boggy country, but lovely, beautiful country. No. Now, anybody watching the program, or if you have friends abroad, or any part of the world, doesn't matter. We're very, very lucky now to have, we're on the World Wide Web, and these programs can be seen all over the world. Just tell your friends and relations that to go into their computers with www.tg4 or TG4.tv, and you can pick up all these programs live. So we're very privileged to be able to do that. Now I'm just going to put another little bit there, and back here, a few more highlights, just a few little ones, without going too far. Paint is on quite bold, but done so that in the style of the famous Paul Henry, the great Irish artist. Now I just want to get the knife and go slightly over the far bank with a bit of Van Dyke Brown. Right over there, look. There would have been a lot of bits and pieces right over there. on the bank of that. So again, to all my friends in Newport, County Mayo, in Achill Island, to all the Geraghties of Geravara, we'll meet again, please God, soon. And I have friends in Ballina, to John Watkins and his wife. John is a great man into conservation and fisheries, and up there in the old Moy. I must get after him for an old day's fishing up there in the Moy. I'll speak nice to him. I'll speak nice to John when I meet him next time. Now, and to all my friends, I think, on the fishery boards everywhere, throughout the whole country. Now, it's time for me to say, for God's sake, Dave, will you stop it? And I'm just going to do one last thing to drive the old director of programs now. He's grunting with me now. There would have been a few little posts there, like, as you go along down there. Keep the old donkey in. Keep the donkey in. Now, I'm overdoing it. So, I'm just going to clean that up. And I'm going to say, for God's sake, leave it alone. So, until we meet again, Garamila Mahagot, Shlan Lat, and God bless you all, my friends.
Feel safe, feel secure. ATA Security.